Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Pastor BOD. How do I introduce you? Pastor BOD Idris or BOD Idris? What's your preference?
Just use BOD IDRIS. Let's be, yeah, you can do that. Actually, I think I sent my bio to
Yes, I saw
Funke.
that.
So yeah, yes, so you can eliminate the pastoral piece, please.
No worries. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
Yeah, you're very much welcome.
For political correctness.
Funke is telling us that we're live right now. So we'll just maybe give ourselves a little bit of time for other people to join us.
Okay, great.
Then Ada and Funke, maybe you mute everybody because I can control my mic now.
Okay.
Yeah, so that people won't be able to just put it on.
Okay. Thank you. Trying hard not to scream. Has anybody joined us yet? We have 16 participants already in the that have already logged in, and I welcome everybody that's been here. Sorry, my camera, it's a bit dark. I had to shift my home office space to a different space because my children have visitors. I apologize for that. And I welcome everybody. There's 16 of us right here. And since we said we're starting at 4, I think it would be right to just go ahead and start to respect people that came in here at 4 o'clock. So good evening, everybody, and welcome again to another webinar organized by the Leadership of the Nigerian Communities. If you saw the flyer, you will notice that there's about 10 of the Nigerian communities that have put heads together to make this evening an opportunity for us to listen to another expert, this time on financial literacy and education. I hope your day went well. This webinar today is based on the request from the last time that we came together like this. People wanted to hear about financial literacy. And so we came together to put this topic together today. Just as you know, financial literacy has many components, right? So today we're just gonna go with one part of it. I must also apologize that we were supposed to have 2 speakers for you today, but unfortunately, Alex is unavoidably absent today. She's not able to make it tonight, but we still do have one person, one of the presenters with us today, and we're gonna hear from him. I want to remind us that as the presentation is going on, please feel free to type any questions that you have in the chat box. And at the end of his presentation, our speaker will be able to take questions. He's gonna speak for the next 45 minutes, and afterwards, we're gonna have an opportunity to ask him questions. So without further ado, I will go ahead and introduce our speaker for tonight, BOD Idris. BOD Idris has more than 15 years experience as a leader, a program manager, a coach, a consultant in different sectors such as banking, oil and gas, insurance technology, automotive software, academics, and policing industries. He has also pioneered various businesses with interest in joint ventures, real estate, and things like that. He has a passion for coaching and has helped groom many individuals to succeed in the marketplace and in the work environment. He also serves as clergy. So, BOD Idris, we thank you so much for being here with us tonight. And I'm just gonna say, please go with it. Just go ahead and talk to us tonight about,
yes. Thank you so much, Ada. Thank you for having me. I first want to appreciate you, and I want to appreciate my hosts. I would be a big thank you to the Nigerian leadership of the Nigerian communities in Edmonton for this initiative. I also want to thank NCAE, ICAE, Anambra State Association of Edmonton, Inquiry, and all cultural communities, all cultural associations within our community for putting this together. I cannot begin to mention names. Okay, International, Nigerian Canadian Muslims, Edmonton Association, Ishan, Ohobo, many wonderful associations. Thank you so much for putting this together, and thanks for giving me this opportunity to talk here. I take it as a very wonderful privilege, and I don't take it lightly. All right, I usually like by talking, my speech, anything I want to talk about, I like to start by telling a story. So let me tell you a story about myself. It's going to be brief, and then we'll go into what we have for today. I'm going to be talking about what is titled Creating Financial Opportunities. Creating Financial Opportunities. Who is BOD IDRIS? Well, I came to Canada about 17 years ago, precisely 17 years ago in 2003. Prior to that, I was living in Nigeria. I lived in Ibadan. I schooled in Ibadan, and then I did some years at the Polytechnic, Kwara State, and then studied computer programming. And when I was much younger, even probably in my high school days, I would tell my dad things like, I'm going to school abroad. That was all I was always telling him. And his concerns were, he was just a civil servant, what you and I can relate to. And on that, his mega salary, how could he afford to send one out of his 5 kids, to school abroad? So that was a very major challenge for him. But anyway, I had that thought, I had that vision that nothing was going to stop me. So in 2001, I began my sojourn. I started trying to come to Canada. I got rejected visa twice. I had admission to study at the University of New Brunswick. I got rejected, as I said, twice. And then I decided I was going to take a break from my applications. So the third time, I think after taking a break for about a year, I decided I was going to go back and reapply. But this time around, something was different. When I was going to reapply, I wrote down my vision. I wrote down about 15 reasons why I wanted to be in Canada and what I will change, what I will influence when I get here. And I can tell you, this is one of them that I'm doing right now. So, and as a proof of sufficiency or as a proof that you have enough resources in order to study abroad, you needed to show financial statements. And the funds in that account statement were not much, with just an equivalence of about 700 Canadian dollars in those days. And wow, who was going to give an international student a study visa on just $500 to $700 showing on the bank statement? But lo and behold, I got it. This was the way it happened. On the day of my interview, I attached my vision, all those 15 things that I wrote down. I attached them to my application. Then I put in supporting documents such as my dad's house, his car, and tried to just use those, hoping that they could compensate for the low funds in that account. But when I got there, the interviewing officer returned all those documents to me, but she held on to those things that I had written out, my vision, 15 things that I would accomplish when I come to Canada. Now, let's fast forward and get into why we're here today. Why are you here? I believe to be financially sufficient, you need to have a vision. I work with 3 underlying principles when it gets to creating financial sufficiency. I'm going to be looking at my notes, and I'm also going to be communicating with you. So when I talk about having a vision, you must have a compelling vision that goes beyond you. Whenever I talk about financial opportunities, I'm not talking about myself having an account that is so loaded with so much money that I don't know what to do. No, but I always want people to think beyond themselves. Stop living for yourself, create a vision that goes and transcends beyond you. I want you to begin to think, one of the things I wrote in that vision statement now is I said, number 1, I will feed nations. I said, I will sponsor people to go to schools. I wrote all those things down. And those things helped me to start saying, okay, to fulfill these things, my finances needed to be somewhere. I'll tell you about my mistakes as well as we go ahead. The second underlying principle that I always tell people when we talk about money is surrounding understanding money flow. Understanding money flow. What is money flow? In every economy, money is either flowing out or coming in. So I want you to look at your own life and say to yourself, okay, is money flowing towards me or flowing away from me? Is money flowing towards me or flowing away from me? If what is flowing away from you is more than what is flowing towards you, there is a problem. There is a problem. Money is never stagnant, as I explained to you earlier. Money is never stagnant. There is never a shortage of money. It's always around, where are you positioned? Are you at the place where money is flowing towards you or where money is flowing away from you? So you must understand that. The third thing I'm also going to talk to you today about these underlying principles, also talk about why you want to be rich. As I said to you earlier, you must have and you must create a purpose for wealth. The love of money, they say, is the root of all evil. Love money, as they say, it's just the root of evil. But you must understand that every business, anything we want to do as far as money is concerned, must be with integrity. I have some principles that I've adopted and I live by. Is number one, I will not cheat in order to be rich. I will not manipulate in order to be rich. I believe there are so many opportunities. There is money flowing around us day and night. We just need the eyes to see them. Financial motivation must be tempered with a clear vision of what you want to accomplish and a sheer passion for whatever field that you are investing in, or whatever industry or whatever product that you are selling. So I define prosperity, I measure prosperity by value and the impact I'm able to contribute into lives. By value and impact that we are able to contribute into life. So I hope I'm able to shape your mindset about money and about why. It's not necessarily about your immediate family. Yes, you want to take care of your immediate family, but if you are really talking about wealth, you must be able to influence nations. I'm talking about wealth that will influence nations. So let's talk about financial opportunities. Now, basic things that you're first going to do, I put this on 3 pillars. The first pillar I'm going to talk about is your net worth. How much are you worth? That's the first thing. Let's start from there. Where am I now? To get to where you are going, you need to know where you are. So I spoke earlier about the vision, talking about where you want to get to, but let's know, where am I right now? What is your net worth? Write it down. Write down your assets. Write down your liabilities. Your asset is anything that adds value to you. Your asset is anything that is made that appreciates or is bringing value to you. I'll give you an example. My car can be both a liability and an asset. My car can be a liability for I just use it for, it's just drive it to work. It serves no other purpose for me than just what it loses value and it appreciates. But the same car can add value to me if I'm using it to do Uber, as an example, or if I'm able to write my taxes, write some expenses on it or under my corporation. It can be an asset to me. It's adding value to me. So that is what we call assets and liabilities. So look at those things, have a budget, look at your monthly income and your spendings, and identify little things that you can cut. So we talk about how much are you worth. It may be negative for some people, it may be positive for some people. I used to be very afraid to do that. The first time my financial advisor told me this 15, 16 years ago, I sat before a woman by the name Bosse. And when she told me this, write down your net worth. And when we sat down to plan this, and I looked at where I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. Yes, it's something that many of us are not happy to look at, but let's start from there. So when you look at those things, the next thing we now need to talk about is preserving where you are. So preserving what you have such that they don't depreciate. What am I talking about here? You're talking about how you maintain, you don't want things to go down. How can you improve on it? So let's talk about a few things about preserving those things. Number one, making sure that you are not wasteful. Plug every loophole. Plug every loophole. I always do these things. In fact, it's not until probably last week that I got Telos cable in my house. For years now, I cut the thing off. I was just using my internet for whatever thing I wanted to do. And then I knew I wanted to save money. That's the truth. It's not because I couldn't afford it, but I wanted to look, how much value was it adding to me? But when I found out I needed to be watching some other channels that I used to watch before, like CNBC, MSNBC, and the rest, I said, okay, I'm going to get myself Telos cable. So do those things. Do those things. Don't be wasteful. Make sure that things do not go down or bad from where you are right now. What are the preservation methods, mechanisms that you can get? Number one, have an insurance. If you can afford to get a cell phone, then you can afford to get an insurance. Have a life insurance. Life insurance does not necessarily mean that I'm getting it because I'm anticipating death. Death is a reality. You and I are going to die someday. So there's no way we don't need to beat about the bush, but have life insurance. Have enough that can at least cover all those liabilities that you have listed. So that's the first thing. Get critical illness insurance in case you're not able to work. I think the critical illness insurance probably covers about 15 to 20 types of illnesses. That in case you're unable to work, I believe it covers some forms of cancer and so on. I mean, get them. Those things can now, with the funds from it, can replace your income in case you're unable to work due to any of those classification of illnesses in your insurance brochure. So shop around for life insurance. Shop around for critical illness insurance. I know there are different schools of thoughts around what types of life insurance should I have. Should I have a term life insurance, or should I have a permanent life insurance? I mean, look at what suits you. I think I would probably say go for something around term 50 times 75. Go for those, and yeah, they're cheaper and they will still do the job. Still talking about all these, about this preservation mechanism that I'm talking about. The next thing about your preservation mechanism is that avoid getting into further debts. You see, we need to get to realities when we are talking about debts. There is nothing like a good debt. A debt is a debt, simple as ABC. Eliminate debts as fast as possible and as quickly as possible. You can never be rich living off credit cards. That's the truth of the matter. We all get to this part of the world. I will tell personal stories. So when I eventually got to Canada, I got here very, very rich. I had a lot of money. Guess how much I had on me? It was less than $100. Yeah, my dad gave me some money. But before, youthful exuberance, I mean, I've been there. I understand youthful exuberance. Due to youthful exuberance, I spent most of those money. I spent money with my friends, with my siblings. So the rest, what was left on me was $100. I felt that when I got to Canada, everything would be okay. So when I got into Canada, reality dawned on me. I had just about $100 left on me. I mean, things were so bad for me that there was a time I was living in my car. Yes, this guy you are looking at, I lived in my car for about 2 to 3 months. I would sleep in my car during winter in those days in Toronto. Debt, any form of debt is no good for you. But we talked about, we have some certain thoughts around debts and what people believe concerning debts. Credit card money is not your money. Credit card money is not your money. Credit card money is not your emergency funds. You should stop depending on credit cards for living. You can just write that boldly on your wall. Credit card money is not my money. I'm not going to rely on credit cards to live. Many people will say, but if I don't have credit card, they wouldn't give me credit. Let me say this to you quickly. Cash is king in any economy. Cash is king. Cash is king. I have personal stories and stories of friends around me who without credits have done some major and solid things in this part of the world that you and I may not believe. Let me tell you this story. So after I had all those problems, about 13, 14 years ago, I was going to buy my first real estate property in Toronto in those days. So I had this job I was doing. I was probably making about $20,000, $25,000, but I was saving money heavily. So, and I got very, very, I got very ambitious. I started investing into stocks. I will talk later about stocks and all the strategies in stocks. So I later started investing in stocks in those days. I will go to TD Waterhouse, downtown Toronto, to go and learn about stocks. So I started with mining stocks. So mining stocks, TD gave me a very good margin. I had a margin account with them. So meaning if you have about $5,000, depending on the types of stocks you're trading, you can probably give you access to about 7,500 or 10,000 worth of stocks that you could purchase. So, but something happened. I lost a big chunk of my money. I lost about $7,500 in stocks 13 years ago. Wow, yes, I lost that amount of money. And I wanted to buy a real estate property. So it became a big strain. I mean, I was financially stressed and things were not going the way I expected. But anyway, let's fast forward. So that impacted my credit. I was eventually able to buy the property, but my credit was heavily impacted because there were many money. I mean, I was owing various organizations. I was owing TD some money on line of credit. I was owing on my credit card and so on and so forth. So my credit was not so good after a long while. I think I was probably around 500 and something on my credit score. I mean, for those of you that are in financial industry, you know what that means. A good credit score should be, I think right now, I would probably say even from 640 and above. You should work towards that. But let's talk about how you can get credit without, how you can get credit facilities or do things when you have bad credit. So I think after about a year, I got a job. I relocated to I got a job in Toronto, and another organization relocated me to Alberta. When I got into Alberta, I still left this property there. So I was renting it out, and I decided to sell it. Made some very good money from it. I made very good money from it. So when I was going to buy my next real estate property, the bank looked at me, wow, your credit is so poor. We can't do anything with you. And I said, you know what? I got $50,000. What are you going to do? You know what the bank manager said? What the lady said? Let me take you to my manager. The manager gave me a loan at 2.79%. Cash is king in any economy. Cash is king in any economy. So write that down. Very important. So save up funds. Don't live off of credit cards. I will talk about how you can now build yourself into where you have enough money to do some of these things that you want to do. Also still talking about preservation methods. Live within your means. Live within your means. You know, you are not in competition with anybody. To thine own self, be true. Don't compare yourself with others. You know, look at, this is where I am and this is what I can afford. You know, don't get into competition with anybody. You know, there are many mistakes many immigrants make when they get into this part of the world. And I'm going to tell you I have a lot of stories I can share with people. So many years ago as well, I bought myself an average house, about 2,300 square foot that I was living in. I bought myself that house. I was living there then. And I had that house for about 6-7 years, and I decided I was going to sell it. Why was I going to sell it? Number one, I was traveling a lot. I had a very busy schedule. I was traveling every week. I felt there was no need for just two people to be locking down, to also be locking down a house, and you know, we're just paying mortgages and all those on it. Anyway, so when I was going to sell this house, I spoke to one of my friends. This is what that guy told me. He said, where are you now going to live? I said, I will find myself a small condo that my family and I were going to live in. You know, the next thing he said to me is, wow, God forbid that bad thing happens to me. That is retrogression. You know, when my friend said that, you know, I have a different disposition to things. You know, because people get things, because my friends are driving BMWs, because my friend are driving Mercedes, you know, those things don't put me under any form of pressure. This, my friend, in those days, would run into trouble. He will come and borrow money. Are you understanding me? He had a big house. And I said, I'm not under any form of financial pressure. I want to sell it. So I sold the house. I moved into a condominium. Now, his reason in those days is, what will the people have, what would the people around us say about me? People will be gossiping and be saying, well, see him. Things have now gone bad for him. Yes, let things go bad. You know what? I have a plan. You have a plan. So live within your means. Live within your means. You know, look at certain things in your life. Must I really go to this party? Must I really buy, you know, we are doing a family function and they said all of us should buy $300 or $500 worth of, you know, Ashebi. Must I really buy that? Why can't I go there with my jeans and my t-shirt, or just, this is what I can afford? You know, many times we get into trouble because of others, because we are always thinking, what will other people say about us? You know, if you're always thinking about what people will say about you, I tell you, you have not yet learned what it means to be independent. You have not yet learned what maturity means. So learn to live within your means. Don't impress people. Neither should you compare yourself with others. Don't compare yourself to others. You know, there is something that comparison does to people. You know, when you compare yourself to others, number one, you are not running your own race. You are beginning to look at where they are in measure. You see, anybody can make it at any point in life. Anybody can make it at any point in life. I will quickly jump to another story. There was a man in my early days in Toronto. If I mention the name of the man, many of you might know him. Yes, okay, I'll probably mention his name. He later retired as the president of MasterCard in the Asian countries, and that's the name Daniel Monet. So Daniel and I were in another. We were together in a group. He was the drummer. I was the keyboardist. We're very close. I later adopted him to be my mentor. So we're very, very close. Now, in those days, Daniel was driving, I want to remember, I think probably a Ford Taurus. And I wanted to leave Canada at all means because when I found out I didn't have money, and another, I think somewhere in Bulgaria, I got an admission to study medicine. So I was going to go there. I was going to go back there to study medicine. And Daniel spoke to me, he said to me, look, Baudouin, I think you should stay here. You know, you can make it in this place. I said, you can make it in this place. I know some questions are coming in. I believe somebody is going to be collating those questions, and I'm going to be going forward to talk about those questions. Anyway, so when Daniel told me those stories, but when I looked at where Daniel was in those days, number one, Daniel that was encouraging me and telling me that we were going to make it, all of us are going to make it in Canada. I looked at Daniel's car and I folded my hands. I'm like, my God, you know, in my language, you usually say it this way. I will interpret it, but let me see, since I'm talking to people in my country, I'm going to say it in Yoruba. It says, you know, so Daniel was using a car that was very rusty, that was fun, and I'm like, wow. But I said to myself, if this guy says this, you know what, I will do it. What does that proverb mean? It means that whoever is going to decorate you, whoever is going to advise you, must look at that person's life, look at the trajectory, and he or she must be manifesting things that are enviable and things that you want to emulate. But I couldn't see any of those in Daniel. But I knew Daniel had vision. So what I'm saying here is what anybody can make it at any point in time. Daniel later rose to become the president of one of the major financial institutions in the world. I look at myself also today, from $75 to where I am today. You know, I mean, anybody can make it at any time. So run your race run your race and stay within. There is a time for everybody to manifest. You know, some people will make it at age 50. Some people will make it at age 20. Some people will make it at age 60. There was a man in Nigeria called Fatai Rolling Dollar. You know, that man, he coached many people to be musicians, likes of Ebenezer Obey, etc. But nobody heard about the people of my generation, or people, no, not my generation knew Fatai Rolling Dollar before he died. But people that are of our generation, the people born in the 90s or in the 80s, they probably wouldn't know Fatai Rolling Dollar. But Fatai Rolling Dollar only came to limelight probably within the last 10 years, at around age 80. You know, he made a major hit with the man Two-Face, and wow, and people knew about him. So what I'm talking about is what there is a time for everybody. Be patient, be persistent, be consistent. You know, don't be envious of others. You know, don't be envious of others. You know, there are wrong reasons to buy things. Don't get things because of wrong reasons. Even when you can afford it, it doesn't mean you should get it. Because I can afford something does not give me compelling reasons to buy it. Yes, I may be able to afford it, but what value is it adding to me? What value is it adding to me? So we've spoken about maintaining things. Now, let's now talk about growing your finances now. And I believe that is what many people have been waiting for. When is this guy going to tell us about how to grow our finances? Okay, let's talk about that. The first key, number one, be financially responsible. What does financial responsibility mean? Plan your money. You see, I say money is a good servant, but a poor master. Money is a good servant, but a poor master. Let me tell you this, if you're a parent, you have kids, if your kid goes out of your house, and he or she comes back, you ask them questions. Where have you been? What did you do? What happened where you went to? The same thing also with your money. If you earn $1,000, if you earn $100, if you earn $500, always ask questions. How did I spend this money? Plan your money. Know where your money is going. And be intentional about it. Be intentional about what you buy. Be intentional about how you spend. Be intentional about all those things. You know, God will not promote you beyond the level of your faithfulness. If you cannot manage $1,000 very well, I can tell you the truth. If you are single and you cannot survive on $1,000 monthly, I can tell you that, having $10,000 may not make a difference. You know, severally I would say to myself, you know, maybe when I get the next job and they pay me $50,000, and lo and behold, they paid me $50,000, I still had bad financial planning, and then guess what again? It was never sufficient. And then I made $70,000, and then I made $100,000, and then I made $150,000, then I found out something needed to change. And that's what I needed to have financial planning. I needed to be financially responsible. So teach yourself how to handle money. That is number one. Teach your children how to handle money. You know, I worked with a young man in my days in CIBC in Toronto in those days, and he was Caribbean. So this guy, anytime we're working together, I would tell me things like, oh, I need to pay my rent. Now I knew that he was living with his parents. So I was shocked the first time he said that to me. And I said, what do you mean? He said, oh, I pay my parents $300 every month. And he said, why? I mean, it was strange to me in those days. And he said something to me. He said, well, my dad is a financial planner. He pays my tuition fees 100%. And he said to me that I'm going to be paying him rent at $300 per month. And guess what? When this guy graduated, his dad used that money as the down payment for his first house in Toronto. For his first house. What am I saying to you as a parent? If you have children that are of a certain age and you know they can walk, you know, give them some financial incentives to do things and teach them to be responsible. You'll find out that kids are very good at asking parents for money. But when you tell them, but you have that money, you watch how they manage their own resources. You know, there's a story of a man. The man was an executive and it's in a very big financial firm. And he bought BMW for his 16-year-old son, his 16-year-old son in high school in those days. So when he bought this BMW, this boy drove for 3 months and he had an accident. Boom. The father fixed the car and returned this BMW to this guy again. After another 2 months, this boy now wrote off. I mean, the car, he ran into another accident and the car was a complete write-off. What am I trying to say here? So this man talked to his friend and his friend said something to him. This is what you should do. Give your son $1,000. Ask him to also get $1,000. So this man gave the son $1,000. The son also came up with another $1,000, and he went to buy a used car for the boy at $2,000. Guess what? For 3 years, that boy drove that car without running into any accident. What am I saying here? When people are financially responsible, then they know how to manage things. They know they can survive unless. So money flows in the direction of good masters who are intentional. Know how your money works. The person who knows how money works can create and recreate financial seasons for him or herself, for himself or herself. You know, no opportunity is too small for you if you have a heart of service. When I'm talking about financial responsibility, I'm talking about opportunities. Many times we despise opportunities. You know, if you go into a country like China, as an example, you'll find out that most of the rich people in China, they are people that are very good with, they are very handy. They are very, very good with what we call technical skills. But in our country, in Africa, where we all came, Nigeria, where we all came from, you'll find out that the people that we look down on are people that are probably the road cleaners, the people that are usually the garbage collectors, the people that are mechanics, and so on and so forth. I'm not sure why this is so. But you'll find out another thing also about China and America. I'm going to do a comparative analysis now between China and America. You find out that when you put, if you have a hall, like I believe it was Tim Cook that said this. I'm going to quote Tim Cook. So Tim Cook said this, that in America, you can barely get a room of 1,000 people that have got what you call tooling engineers, top-notch tooling engineers. But if you go to China, you can probably get a stadium filled with them. So these are people that have got handy skills, technical skills. You know, some of the jobs I did in my early days in Toronto then, in fact, there was a time I used to do drywalls for people. There was a time, the types of job I would get, I negotiate in those days with one man that I met. You know, man likes to suit up, he likes to dress up, and I offered my service to him. I said, can I be ironing your dress for you once in 2 weeks and you pay me $50? Yes, the man gave me the job, he gave me the contract. So no opportunity is too small. There are some opportunities I will still explore today. You know, they usually say it in this way, and I'm going to tell you, usually say that, you may make money from a job that looks inferior, but I tell you, no money is inferior. No money is inferior. No money is inferior. You know, the garbage collector, yeah, might stink. You might say, wow, I can't really do that. But at the end of the day, you know what? The money that comes from it is really sweet. It's really sweet. It's really sweet. So what I'm saying is, what, no opportunity is too small if you have a heart of service. You know, beware of people who want you to invest 100% in things that they wouldn't invest anything in. So when people come to you, I'm still talking about financial responsibility here. Anytime people bring opportunities to me, I ask them questions. Many people come to me with business ideas. The first question I ask them is, how much are you investing? How much do you want me to invest? And it's because I made some mistakes. I found out people are easy. The people love it when they are spending other people's money. But when it is their money, you know what? They become responsible. They become careful. So if people are asking you to commit your money to a project, they're asking you to commit your money to a business, the first question you ask them is, how much of your money are you committing into this? If you're asking me for $1,000 and you're not committing $1,000 at the barest minimum or committing $5,000 into it, I'm not moving an inch. I'm not moving it. It's a lesson I learned. One of the lessons I learned because I went to business with somebody and they collected my money and ran away because their money was not involved in it. We'll talk about that some other time. So the second point about growing your money. So I've talking about your financial responsibility now, what you spend. That's the summary of that. The second thing now is have various accounts based on the different quadrants of your life. I usually draw a quadrant for my life. What do I mean by a quadrant of my life? I talk about things that impact me and things of value to me. I first talk about things like family. That's a quadrant there. Real estate. That's a quadrant there. Academics. There's a quadrant there. And so on and so forth. And based on this, I have different accounts. You can even call them jars. You can call them money jars or account jars for different households. Don't mix these things together. There's a reason why I said you should do that. It helps you to track how much you are spending on each thing. So we're still talking about tracking and maintaining things. Then when you're now beginning to think about investing, so let's now talk about that. No matter how much you earn, if you are earning $500, have plans to save minimum $50. Be intentional about saving. Be intentional about saving. I'm telling you, until you're intentional, don't always look and think somebody will give you money to get some things. Don't think somebody will give you money that will make you, and that you're going to win lottery. Even if you win lottery tomorrow, you know what, you may end up being poor. We've seen cases like that in different parts of the world. So in this diversification, when you now begin to start, if it is $50, now you're putting aside for every payment out of your paycheck, what do you do with that $50? So the first thing you do, number one, is this: diversify that $50. Break it down into other things. Diversify into what I call my short-term savings. So what are the things I want to achieve in 3 months? What are the things I want to achieve in 6 months? So out of this $50, let's assume you put another 10% of that $50 into it. So that's the first thing. The next thing you do now, after your short-term savings, you also have your mid-term savings. Your mid-term savings. Look at what your mid-term goals are. Now, I'm a very heavy stock investor. I've been trading in stocks now for about 13, 14 years. I think I told you earlier that I lost a lot of money the first time I invested in stock. If it were to be, I'm somebody that I learned a lot from failure. So if I lost $7,000, $8,000 from stocks in those days, guess what? If you fast forward to about 4 more years after that incident, I invested into the same stocks. I mean, nothing was different, but now I knew better. I think in 1 month, I probably made about $15,000 from the same stock. Wow, yes. But you know what? I went through the pains of learning those things. So what I'm saying here also is what? The lesson I learned from my failure in stocks in those days is I didn't have a good strategy. People make money every time from stocks, and people also lose money every time from stocks. Let me tell you another experience I had. On this particular day, I was flying into Edmonton, and I had, there was the young boy that was beside me. The boy spilled his drink. So I was not far away from the business class section. So there was a man that was sitting down at the business wing, and the man looked at me and the man said, I should come and sit beside him. So I was invited to sit at the business class. The guy said I was going to pay for the upgrade. Anyway, he paid for the upgrade, and I sat beside him and we started talking. It was a very wealthy man in this city of Edmonton. And we started talking about investments, and he told me a story. He showed me his tax returns. And on his tax returns, this man lost $956,000 in stocks. $956,000 in stocks. And I told him, how did you do this? Now listen, interestingly, the same stocks he lost that amount of money from, they are stocks that I trade almost every time. I think it's only within the last 3 to 6 months that I've not traded that particular stock. And that is some Horizon ETFs. I'm like, why did you do this? Anyway, I wouldn't go into the details of that. Oh yeah, somebody's asking about mutual funds and have your money managed. So we're going to talk about all those things. We're going to talk about how you do those things now. So anyway, so what will I do now if I'm going to invest my money? That $50 that we spoke about, number one. The first thing, as I said, is I will diversify it. I will classify my portfolio into long-term, short-term, and mid-term goals. And those will help you identify what is called your risk appetite. So anytime you sit before your financial advisor, the financial advisor will ask you certain questions. We tell you, when do you need this money? Then they have a set of questions that they are going to ask you to understand your risk appetite. It's very important you go through this test. You know, there are many people that if they lose $100, you know, they're going to be shaken, you know. So, I mean, then that means that what your risk appetite, your risk appetite is not high. Then you should probably invest in something, more conservative. We're going to get into that part about your mutual funds. You should probably invest into something that is more conservative. I will not even advise you to go into stocks if you know that what you have a very low risk appetite. I will advise you to sit down with a financial advisor, go to TD, go to any of these financial institutions, Royal Bank, etc., and they will do this for you. And based on that, you know, on mutual funds are there are groups of funds that have been that financial, what I call financial managers or experts, that they've assessed their risk, they've known their histories, they've studied those industries, and they put those funds together. I would almost call them like aggregate funds together, and they have histories about their performances. And based on those performances, they can tell you and forecast that within the next 1 year, we think that this is going to be 1 year, 2 years, but within a year, you should have, let's say, 1% or 2% growth, 5% or more. So we're going to talk, I will talk later on down the line about what you can do with those mutual funds. So you will put some money in those. The next thing also is what you look at long-term ones. You know, there are some long-term mutual funds as well that may have some more volatility. I think you should also consider from this your $50 now. And now the way you build wealth from mutual funds is not just by putting money in it once. You have to do it consistently. I talk about consistency. Consistency matters. I will talk about that. Maybe I should quickly talk about buttress about this, since we are talking about diversification of your portfolio. Now, when you do things consistently, there is something that is called compound interest. You know, and compound interest, I'm going to give you a scenario. If you save $50 weekly at 7% rate, interest rate for about 30 years, you know, after 30 years, you'll have, your money will now be worth about $253,931.78. Now, can you save $50 a week? The answer is probably yes. But where with that $50, do you buy coffee every day? You know, what can you cut down on? That is $10 a day, Monday to Friday. You save $10 a day, Monday to Friday. On Saturday, you're going to have the $50 that you can put in the mutual funds. So in 30 years, you can have $250,000. Wow, that's the law of compound interest. So I just put that there as an example for us. As an example for us. Now, also as part of this diversification also is, I talk about have an emergency fund. Your emergency fund is not your credit card. Let's get that straight. Your emergency fund is a fund that you have put aside in case something happens. Now, how do I calculate how much I need on my emergency fund? I play with some formulas, but I can probably recommend this. Number one, look at how much deductible you have on the types of insurance that you have. So on your automobile, for example, do you have a $500 deductible or $1,000 deductible? That means that in case you run into an accident, you may need to probably have $1,000 you can run to. I don't want to go to my credit card to get that $1,000. So let me put that $1,000 in my emergency fund. The next thing to also look at is how much of my cell phone bills, you understand, how much does my cell phone bills cost in a month? So over the next 6 months, 3 to 6 months worth of your expenses should be in your emergency fund. So create that, and it should be in cash. It should be in cash, or at the very least, or the barest minimum, in what I call very conservative mutual funds, or even in some really, I wouldn't even say you should tie it into GICs. Don't tie it into GICs, because some GICs are term GICs, and so make sure that money is accessible. If anything happens, you know what? You have access to those funds. Do that. Start practicing all these things from now. Start practicing all these things from now. So I spoke about consistency. I'm not going to talk about that again. Now, a lot of questions have come in already about the mutual funds. So I will get deeper into it now. Learn to invest. Learn to invest. There are many things you can invest in. I always say this again. When I talk about investment, when people think I'm only talking about probably real estate, or I'm talking about trading stocks. I was talking about trading stocks. I will still talk about it further. But there are opportunities around you that you can invest in. You can invest in some small businesses. There are angel investors. You understand? There's the Association of Angel Investors that they have their headquarters in Toronto. Depending on the amount of money you have, they usually have a panel that evaluate the business proposals that come to that group. So angel investors, basically, they are people that invest in other people's ideas. They invest in other entrepreneurs. So there are organizations that will assess the opportunity and they can now come to those angels. So if I have, let's say, $5,000, I mean, of course, many times the amount of money you need as an angel investor might be more. But let's even use 5,000 as an example. Then they may probably now say to you, okay, we've assessed XYZ opportunity, and we found that, if you invest this, you can probably get this return, and you can now decide if you want to go ahead or not. So that is one opportunity. Another opportunity also for investment is, I've seen people that probably have businesses that have got payroll problems. As an example, I used to have one of my proteges who have brought many people like that, and he would say to me, hey, you know what? This person just got a contract. We see the contract legitimate, we validate it, we confirm it, and we say things like, but the problem they have is they have payroll problem because they're not going to be paid until this. We send it to the lawyer validates that, okay, we'll advance you the money to sort some of the things to start, and then you pay us back at this interest rate. Those are simple investment opportunities. Again, there are so many investment opportunities. You can do, that is the truth. It is not below, it's not beneath me. Let me say this very well. It is not beneath me. No, I'm knotted in ties. Yeah, it is not beneath me. Yeah, it's not, are you getting me? If I have a goal and I need to do it, I will do it. You understand what I mean? You are not too touche to do something. I taught a group about 3-4 weeks ago. I was talking to a group and I explained to them that that you can actually be a street cleaner. You know that you can actually be the person washing the toilet and still ride your Lamborghini. So what I'm saying to you here is what? It depends on your perspectives. It depends on your perspective. So maximize your TFSA when you are investing. If you're investing in mutual funds, or if you're investing in stocks, what I always say to people, trade within your tax-free savings account. And one of the reasons is because if you're still within your contribution for that year, you will not be penalized. You will not be penalized. So somebody said, how do you invest in stocks? Do you register with stock brokerage firms? Okay, I will get into that. I know those are some of the questions. I will finish my conversation, then I will get into those questions. So invest in those. Maximize your RSP. Let me quickly talk about this RSP opportunity. Many people do not know how to invest in RSP. One of the best ways to invest in your RSP is when you have a full-time job. If you're working with an employer, always ask them what their RSP or what's called their RSP benefits are. Many employers will always give employees RSP credits under where they also contribute to your RSPs. Maximize this. I meet people from time to time. I tell, do you work? Yes. Do you put money in your RSP? No. Does your employer offer this? They say, I said, then why haven't you done that? I just felt I needed more money. Let me tell you this. It is free money. The first time I tried it, I did an investment for 2 years where I was working before. I think by the second year when I was going to leave that organization, I walked away with close to $30,000, So maximize employers' RSP. You understand? Again, set all these things up. Remember, consistency, and I'm contributing to these things. So in those days, if I put in $150 from my paycheck, it's deducted at source. Guess what? My employer matches it. And then I got to a level where they were now doubling it. So for every $300 I was contributing, they are putting $900. And my income wasn't that much then. My net income at the end of the day was probably around $3,000 in those days. So that's what I'm talking about with regards to that. Again, diversify, create different sources of income. Even if you have a 9-to-5 job that seems to be paying you a lot of money, it may not be enough. The truth is that whether you like it or not, your organization will fold up. Whether you like it or not, you are going to get old and you have to leave the organization. So why you not think about other opportunities? I always say to people, do your skills assessment, do your talent assessment, find out what you are good at, and find a marketplace where you can market what you do. What am I talking about here? Some of you have got good writing skills. Some people studied English. You know, a few weeks ago, I was looking for a transcriptionist to help me transcribe some of the things, some of my speeches. And I put it up there, and a young lady approached me. And she said, oh, I've said about 5 people. I'm like, wow, I have people. And I know there are many people like that all around us that have got, you know, that are very good at writing, you know, and all I just needed was somebody that was going to listen to what I've done and quickly transcribe them. So you are good at that. You make money from it. You make money from it. All right. Yeah, okay. Maybe I will need about 5 more minutes. Thank you. Yeah. So in another 5 to 10 minutes, I think I'm going to round up. So again, do your skills assessment. Look at what you're good at. And when you find what you are good at, polish it. One of my mentors spoke to me. I invited him to speak for me some years ago. He's a politician and he's a very rich man, very wealthy Abacha. And he told me a story. He said to me that he was very successful in real estate. Very, very successful. One of his friends started telling him that you should invest in stocks or you should invest in, you know, clubs. So which is football clubs or hockey clubs and the rest. So this man, he had a lot of money. So guess what he invested in? He bought a club. He bought a hockey club somewhere in the US. And guess how much he lost? He lost $10 million. And he said to me, he said, BOD, never ever invest in what you don't know about. That's a law. Even when you know this is your area, I would rather stick to an area that I know very, very well. Even in stocks investing, I'm very good with my mining stocks. You know, I can sleep now and wake up and tell you, you know what, this, you know, but when you're now beginning to tell me about certain other, you know, I don't do well with some other form of stocks. That's an example. But yeah, does my spouse do well in those other areas? Yes. So what I'm saying here is when you find what you are good at, stick with it until you learn something else. Until you learn something else. If it had worked for you in times past and you hone your skills and you polish them, you know what? You will only get better and better and better. So, you know what, again, don't compare yourself. Stick to what you know. And when you make a bad financial decision, let's talk about this. When you make a bad financial decision, instead of you continuing, I think you should retrace your steps. You should retrace your steps. What do I mean by this? There are times that we invest in things that are bad. And many times because of shame, or because we get very dogged and we say things like, you know, I know that it can work, you know, it's better you count your losses and start afresh than for you to keep pumping money in what is failing and then at the end lose all your money. And then in the end, lose all your money. You don't want to do that. Lastly, today, I'm going to say buy and sell things. Stocks are not the only things that you can buy and sell. Look around. There is Facebook Marketplace. There are things you can buy there and you can resell on Amazon. There are things you can buy. I mean, let me tell you a few stories. Some years ago, I went to a music store. I play piano. I'm a musician. So I went to a music store and I saw this particular keyboard that was being sold for $80. $80. So I bought it. After a few months as well, that store was doing another sale. It was used keyboard. I bought this keyboard again. So I had 2 of that same keyboard. Guess how much I resold this keyboard for? I listed it in those early days of eBay. I resold each of them for $1,000 in those days. What I'm saying here is what? It is not stocks alone that you can resell. Shop, know how to look for opportunities. You know, see the value in things. Are you getting it? Some people are just selling things because they want to declutter. Buy them and resell them. How easy is that? You know, let me go back to the story of cash. I'll tell you a lot of stories about cash. The second story about cash, and I'm going to talk about, is that there was a time some guys approached me. I was walking. I usually have time during my lunch that I just walk around and think. I call it my thinking time, and I write things down. So some guys approached me. They saw me in the mall and they said to me, "Oh, we know that you play piano." And I said, "Okay." And they said to me, "Well, we won." I think the guys are probably on this panel now. I'm telling them my secret. Okay. Anyway, I'll quickly tell the story. So they told me about that piano that they all got together. It was a grand piano, beautiful piano, and they wanted to sell it. Now, I had a friend, Mr. Giovanni, who was working with Mr. Giovanni, and he said to me that, and I said to him, hey, some people want to sell some piano for me. Can you tell me the value if you're going to buy it from me? He told me the value. I said, okay, no problem. So I went to these guys. Cash. Listen to this. Cash is king. Remember, I've been telling you, save, 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 because the opportunity will come for you to make money. So when these guys told me the value, what they wanted, I beat the price down. I said, pay $7,000. So I think $7,500. So I went to them. I gave them the money, $7,500. I put this piano in my what's it called? And I put this somewhere in my house. Let's fast forward. After about 4 months, again, I listed it on Kijiji. I just wanted to find out how much people, not that I needed money, but how much would people appraise it for, or how much people would price it or want to buy it from me for. Guess what happened? Somebody approached me, a physician. He was relocating to Edmonton with his family, and white family. And they said to me, well, you know what? My wife is a piano teacher, and we sold our house, we sold the piano. But since we are moving to Edmonton, this is the exact piano that she had. I would like to buy it from you for $11,000. Cash is king. Cash is king. Are you getting this? No, instead of buying an expensive suit, instead of buying I'm not saying it's not good to buy expensive suits. You understand what I mean? Don't buy it every time. I buy mine probably once a year, or once in 2 years. There was a time for 3 years I only used one, but one. So what I'm saying is what? Cash. So it's not just stocks and the rest that you can buy. There are different opportunities. There are antique stores. You understand what I mean? Now that the economy is down, there are probably antique cars you can shop for, you can buy. There are seniors that they use their cars really well. Look around for them, travel somewhere outside Edmonton, look around for those deals, buy them, and then you can resell those things. And last, and the greatest value now of having money is giving. Give. Factor giving into your budget. Why am I talking about this today? You will never be rich without understanding giving. I have 3 more minutes. So you will never be rich without understanding giving. Giving gives fulfillment to riches. Giving gives fulfillment, and it opens greater doors. Some of the people I've met in my life were because I gave them gifts. I love investing in people. You understand? I met somebody for the first time. I met a family for the first time. I was going to go and greet them, and I bought a rose for the wife. And the woman was really happy. The next time I was going into the house, she went out of her way. And anytime there was businesses, she would call me and talk to me. Look at how much was the rose I bought? $20. You're meeting somebody for the first time, give to them. Bless other people. Give to this economy in North America is built on giving. I know people in workplaces that I've worked with that they will never be fired from that organization because they give to a foundation in that organization. I've worked with them before. In fact, I looked at the lady, I consulted, it was one of my consulting engagements, and I knew this lady was in that strike. I said to myself, how did this person get this job? Then on a particular day, I was working in the organization. As I climbed the steps, I saw names of our donors, and I saw her name there. Then I understood why she would never be fired. I understood why they will always give her contracts. What am I talking about there? You want to make money? Give money out. Give to others. People have to find foundations that you're going to commit to without necessarily asking from them. Generosity is very important. So that's all I have for you today. And I can start taking the questions now.
Thank you so much, BOD. This has been really interesting. As you were talking, I was taking note, and I believe a number of us were doing that too. But yes, we do have a few questions from people, and I'm gonna just paste them in a chat for you. And
okay.
Okay.
Or maybe you can read them actually.
Yes, so that the rest of everybody can hear them and know what you're answering. So the first question is, how do you start up a rental property without a good credit rating and a down payment?
Okay.
How do you start up a rental property without having a good credit rating and a down payment?
Okay, there are various ways. I would say it's yes and no. It depends. Why do I say it depends? You need to, I see many things online, invest without this, invest without that. The first thing I usually tell people is, many times people are talking about the American real estate. In American real estate, the law that governs them is different from ours. The law that governs them is different from ours. But when we get to Canada, if you don't have a good credit rating And if you don't have a down payment, I think the first thing you need to start shopping for is to have good relationships. Yes, if you have good relationships, you will go really far. What am I talking about there? You need to have people, again, everything is not about money, but do you have relationships around you? Do you have people that can invest in your courses? Do you have enough integrity that people know that if you take this from them, you will surely return it? Your greatest asset actually is your integrity. So if you have integrity, yes. I mean, I've seen stories of people that will just walk to the banks. They've said, I mean, I've had to, I'll tell you a story. One of my mentees had a problem, declared bankruptcy, and got a job at a financial institution. At the last stage of the interview, they looked at her credit and I said, wow, we're not going to give you this job. So I said to this person, I said, you know, this is what we're going to do. We are going to pray. Yes, I believe so much in prayer. But the next thing we are also going to do is we are going to write a letter. And I said to her, we drafted the letter. Tell them this is your past. Tell them you have now changed. You've gone through financial education. Of course, that is required if you are declining bankruptcy. But now you are better and you are determined to correct your past. She spoke to them like this. They gave her the job. So what I'm saying here is what, if you have integrity, you can do it.
Thank you very much, BOD. The next question is it advisable to invest in mutual funds and have your money managed by another, or do the buy and sell by yourself?
It is yes and no, and it depends on your financial knowledge. There are some that are in mutual funds. There is something that is called front load, no load, and what we're talking about, load or no load, is whether there are charges, you know, attached to them managing these. So, for an example, some financial institutions can manage your mutual fund trading, your mutual funds for you. And I don't always recommend to people that, you know, you look at your mutual funds within 1 month and you want to pull out. No, wait for maybe about 6 months to 1 year if it's not doing well. They can set up automated processes for you such that anytime an income comes, you make some money, if it's weekly. As I said, those $50, it's automatically taken out of your account. Then diversify that mutual fund. You know, remember I spoke about diversification. When I'm talking about diversification, let me give you an example. You have different industries. You have oil and gas, you have health sector, you have biotech, you have technology, and so on and so forth. Now, if I put 100% of my money into biotech, if biotech crashes, then everything is, it's affected. You know, all my 100% of my funds may be affected by the volatility. So try to balance things out, meaning that out of my $50, if I'm putting $10 in biotech mutual funds, the rest, you know, there's a way they have selected all these funds. And remember what I said to you earlier, sit down with a financial advisor. They will do that risk assessment for you. And then you can now begin to decide whether you want them to do this. Yes, I mean, there is one, they managed one for me and it did really, really well. I'm going to tell you that. In fact, the best I had was because I had a portfolio manager that managed my portfolio and she did really well. So yes, you can set something up like that. You don't have to be monitoring your mutual funds every day. It's only unless you are trading stocks. But if it's mutual funds, you can have somebody manage that for you.
Thank you again, BOD. And there's a third question. It says, is the speaker open to mentoring others in the area of trading stocks? And there's another question like that. Can we talk to you privately after the webinar?
Oh, yes, you can talk to me privately. They will put my email, they can put my email up there for you, info@bodidris.org, info@bodidris.org. So there are a lot of great resources on stocks trading. Yes, I can talk to you about stocks. I can share my time with you on stocks. But what I would say is I'm going to send this link out, and I hope that maybe the program facilitators can help send that out. Now, up until today, I believe TD still runs free classes and webinars on how to trade stocks. So I believe TD America, if you go on there, yeah, I have the link somewhere on my phone, and I will share it. We can send it out. So I'll first say, learn those. That's the first thing. That is the first thing. The second thing I'm going to tell you about stocks is, you know what? You may lose money. And I've said to people, don't put 100% of your money in stocks. You get it? Don't put 100% of your money in stocks. It's my advice to you. So if you want to start, yes, we can show you a few things. learning all those stock platforms, learning to read charts, a few charts that I know about, and so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you. But if you share those links with us, we'll be able to share them with the larger community. That would be fantastic. Okay, and the fourth question is, how do you invest in stocks? Do you register with stock brokerage firms, or do you do stock trading? How do you invest in stocks? Do you register with stock brokerage firms to deal in stocks?
Yeah, so there are different ways that you can do it. I use TD platform. I mean, I think probably one of the reasons why I stick to TD is because of number one, they are near real-time data. So there are some platforms where you trade and they're not giving you real-time information. It's maybe 3 to 5 minutes late. I love to do real-time trading. So I trade with TD. The commission is about $9.99 for each trade that you place. Before now, it used to be very expensive. It used to be $29.99 per trade. So you can, so it's very, very important to you. You be aware of that. There are some other platforms as well that you have to transfer some money to. I'm not sure if Vanguard has got their own platform, but I know there are some popular platforms. So what I would say to you, TD seems to have the best platform in Canada. Let me say that TD seems to have the best. You can Google it, you can research it, but they seem to have the best platform. They'll give you what is called it's called a direct investing account. And then I would always say to you that practice, practice, and practice. And even if you decide to, depending on how much time you have on yourself, you understand, if you can do your trading by yourself, I think everybody should be able to do their trading by themselves. You know, I usually, can you put an hour, do you have an hour in the day that you can use to trade? I recommend people trading early in the morning. I recommend that you watch certain channels like MSNBC, CNBC. I recommend a few resources about money management. Follow Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is a very, very good guy. He's very, very depth averse, and I love some of his principles. So follow some of those channels to learn more about your financial strategy. And but MSNBC and CNBC, you know, in fact, you can call into CNBC when they are doing their stocks assessment, and they're going to be talking about what happens in different industries, and and the experts are going to say, okay, why they think you should go for this, and they are going to tell you what they are investing in. So that's the thing I love about MSNBC.
Okay. Thank you again. There's a fifth question, and it says, what's your advice on stocks? Is it stocks or ETF? I'm not sure what ETF means, but I hope you do.
Yeah, so ETFs are exchange traded funds. Some of them expire, some of them do not expire. You know, some of them go through what is called a split. You know, you see, let me say this to you. Some ETFs are really great. And some of them have got lifespans. You know, I mean, there are some Vanguard ETFs that are good. So let me give you an example. Somebody recommended some stocks to me. I traded them, and some ETFs rather to me. I traded them. Wow, and they were really doing well. And then, so I told my family, I told my spouse, and I said, look, you know what? We need to be careful. And I said, you know, you trade this particular one. I'm going to stick to what I know. Now we lost some money, because especially with the crash in the oil prices. So, and I said, okay, you know what, we sold. Yeah, we lost. It was quite substantial that we lost, and we then changed our strategy. So I said to her, you know what, I've always been good with my mining stocks, and that's what I'm going to stick with. So I went back to my mining stocks. It was a sure banker for me. Are you understanding? Because it's what I understood. So what I'm saying is, you have to experiment. You have to experiment. Maybe you experiment with $500, you understand, and see, if I trade $500, or maybe an Horizon ETF, maybe on Vanguard ETF, and see how did they perform, versus if I'm trading the actual stocks. Then there is what is called composite funds. So within an ETF, when you're reading your exchange traded funds, always look at the industries that it consists of. So as an example, they will tell you that, you know, this ETF is made up of pharmaceuticals, and the examples of the pharmaceuticals that are in it are that. Then it's also consists of some things in technology, you know, like Apple, Apple and some other Microsoft. So you look at those, you understand, and you also look at their histories. You know, read some of the brochures. Just do some, you know, read some good. There are some good blogs you can read. You know, belong to at least one of them. I'm not as diligent as that compared to my spouse. You understand what I mean? So I say to you, do that. Invest your time in that education and look at what they are saying. You know, let me give you a few examples. Let me just tell you some of the things I use. When there are political uproars, you understand, the prices of gold goes up, as an example. So that's number one. Number two, I know that if I'm dealing with certain stocks, the best time I trade them is between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. MST. Like anything after that, you may not see me in front of the computer. You understand what I mean? So do that. Are you understanding some of those things? Then it also depends on your goal. Remember what I said to you earlier. You need to have a goal. Have those short term. If you have a short term goal, don't invest your short term money in stocks. Put them in a conservative portfolio. Put them maybe in some mutual funds that are very, you know, that where the risks are very, very low, or you just save it as cash in your savings account. That's what I would advise.
Okay, there's a sixth question, and it says, I'm worried all my money might go to taxes. Are there ways to prevent this?
Oh, good. I'm really happy that that person asked that question, because I couldn't get to that point in my note. And that is that have tax havens. Now, there is something that is called tax planning, and that accountants can help you do. And that is something I also say to every individual in North America. In fact, I think I probably did a full set of teaching some years ago on why you should have a registered corporation. I think I probably listed about 20 or 21 points on why you must register a company. Number one. So having an incorporation is first a tax shelter. So let me give a few examples. If I'm making about $90,000 as an employee of an organization, I believe if I'm going to be taxed, I might probably pay as much as about $10,000 to $11,000 on taxes. Now, assuming I'm incorporated, I've got a company, and out of my company, I'm taking dividends of maybe, let's say, about 85 or 90,000, close to the same amount. My taxes under dividends may probably just be around $5,000. You understand? So those are tax havens. Number two also is maximize your RSPs. You know, if you are married, you can do spousal RSP contributions, so which is where you are able to contribute into your spouse's RSP. Look at how much contribution room you have. You know, so when you have your NOA, your notice of assessment annually, it always tells you you have this much room to contribute to your RSP. Maximize those, but see an accountant. I think you should talk to an accountant. I don't understand tax law too much. I bought a whole book from KPMG on taxes. You know, the more I read, the less I understood. So I left those to the accountant side. So, but I found out that if you have a business that you're running, you understand, I think you have a business idea, you can do some activities on the business. Those are ways. If you can even borrow your corporation some of your income and see what your accountant can do. You understand? Another good tax haven also is when you give, and that's another opportunity. Also, I mean, when you give, I said to people, you know, practice giving. You know, I tell you, let me say it this way. So every year, at times I come up with a figure about what I want to give. My income may not necessarily be able to afford that. But I always say, you know what, if I written this down, maybe I can commit myself to it and work it out. And at the end of the day, I will fulfill it. So what I'm saying here is when I fulfill those things, so as an example, if I commit to $5,000, I'll be able to save, let's say, about 30% of $5,000 in taxes. I get about $1,500 in credits, you understand, that I can claim under my taxes. So those are good tax havens.
Great, thank you very much. There's another question number 7. It says, my focus is my kids. What kind of investment can enable me pay for their post-secondary education?
Good question. Well, although I'm not a banker, but I will just tell you some of the things that I think maybe a banker would tell you. But I think you should also sit with a banker. There are RESPs, which are registered educational funds that you can do. I believe there are some, I think there are also some funds for parents as well, if you contribute to certain portfolios, and where the government is also able to contribute to that. So please go to your bank and sit down with a financial advisor and tell them and ask them the question, what opportunities are available for me? And remember what I said, the earlier you start, the better, and consistency is key. Consistency is key. Remember that analogy I gave you? You can save $50, every week, at let's say 7% or 8% interest. By the time you look at it, if it's for 30 years as an example, or even less, 30 years, you should be able to get about 253,000. I think if you probably do maybe about 20 years, there are what is called compound interest calculators. You can Google that, compound interest calculators. Find out how much your children would need and find out how much you need to be saving. You understand? You'll find out that if you do it early enough, you'll be able to reach that target.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And that is the last question that we have. Okay, I thought somebody was typing something in the chat. That's the last question we have. It's been really, really awesome listening to you, but I have a lot of, I'm trying to process this information, and it's really, really awesome. And I'm glad that you shared your email address so that we can contact you after now when we do have questions. And please, if you have those links, if you can share it with us, like I said, then we can cascade that to the larger community. And yes. Do you have a few last words for us before we do a poll, and then we close for today?
Yeah, I would just say, of course, I want to thank you once again for having me. It's an honor, it's a privilege. I don't take it lightly. Thanks for inviting me. And I hope I've been able to share some useful tips to us. And yes, if anybody has any questions, feel free to send me an email. One of my visions, actually, I found that when we commit to other people's successes, we become successful. That is the truth. So in setting your goals, be mindful of other people. That's what I'm going to say to you. Be very mindful of other people and see ways that you can bless them. I tell you, you're going to just see doors open to you in amazing ways. I've experienced it, and I will encourage you to do it. So don't be too, yes, you have your own needs, but in the midst of it, I would say find ways that you can reach out to others. It may not be necessarily you giving them money, maybe you giving them your time, finding something you can do. I'll share a story as I finish. I always say this thing. So one of my mentees told me a story, an experience that he had, and he came to tell me. When there was fire in Fort McMurray, so this guy, he decided he was going to go and help, the people that were coming to Edmonton, to the camps here. So he gave them mattresses, he took foods there. So while he was going out of his house, he met an old man, and the old man just asked him, "Oh, could you show me where Save on Food was?" So he did not just show the man where Save on Food was, he drove him to the place. Now listen to the story. When he drove this man to this place, the man asked him what he was doing. This guy told him what he was doing. He gave him his time. He could have been in a hurry and said, "I didn't have the time." Anyway, when the man found out what this guy was doing, the man called him later on. I said, "Well, this evening I will be flying with the premier to assess the damages, because the man owned about 70% of commercial real estate in Fort McMurray." And lo and behold, when this guy showed me his first paycheck, it was in 6 digits. It was for a month project that he did. For one month. For a month's project. So what I'm talking about here is, just give your time. This community is built around charity. You understand what I mean? And I always say to people, if you cannot give, you are the most broke person in the whole world. So that's really my last word to people.
Thank you so much, BOD. Thank you, everybody, for being part of this conversation today. It has been very enlightening for me, and I hope it has been the same for you. And if you have questions after now, connect with the Nigerian community leaders, or you can connect with BOD directly. Before we close out today, we have a poll. So it's just gonna take 1 minute, and I'm gonna ask our facilitator, Funke, to just put it on. It's gonna be on your screen, and you just answer a few questions for us. It's on now, and it's gonna be on for 1 minute. Thank you very much. And so I am just going to read one comment from somebody in the group. Says that he's joining actually from the United States, from Houston, and he realizes that all of the comments that BOD has shared with us here today also applies in the States. So yeah, I'm glad that we have that far reach. So with that, we've come to the end of tonight's meeting, webinar workshop on financial literacy. Thank you for taking that poll. And we're going to go through that poll and connect back with you based on the responses that we have received and the feedback that you have shared. Once again, I want to thank you so much, BOD. It's been an enlightening evening. Thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thank you for having me, and thanks to the great audience that endured me for and tolerated me for more than an hour. Hope I wasn't too boring to you. Thank you.
For another 1 hour. So, so thank you, the entire Nigerian community. It's such a pleasure to sit together, even though it's virtual, and listen to BOD tonight. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you to the leadership of the Nigerian community, those people that put heads together to organize this event for tonight. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and hopefully see you shortly on another webinar like this. Have a lovely evening.
You too. Thank you.